Hi everyone, this is Zoph, and you are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. I'm joined this week by my special co-host, Lucas. Hi Lucas, how are you?
Hey everybody, how you doing? Doing good today.
Uh,
Do you want me to just hit the show thing
you
and we'll
know,
just go?
do it. I'm gonna
Just
be
do the
tech.
thing.
I'm gonna go do tech girl stuff.
You do tech. All right. So welcome to the show. This is Simply Scadian, no title required. Hopefully you're joining us again in our season two. Or if you're new, welcome to the show. So the purpose of the show, the reason that we do this is because there are tons and tons of regular folk in the SCA who have a wealth of knowledge, who are so interesting to hear from, who have so much to share. And we get bogged down sometimes listening to people who have achieved titles and things of that nature, and not taking anything away from those folks. They've really done a great job. But I think sometimes we gravitate towards them instead of listening to our peers, at that level, who maybe don't want to put the time in or have no aspirations to really climb the ladder, and they have just as much information that we can learn from. So we love to talk to those folks. So please hit us up on the Facebook page, fill out a form if you think you're one of those people, or more importantly, if you know one of those people, somebody we should talk to. And we want to talk to anybody. Let us talk to fighters. We'll talk to fighters, but we'll talk to artisans, poets, bards, actors, vinters, anybody you think that we could talk to, and just see what their story is and how they found the SCA, and why they like living with the rest of us. So tonight I'm actually really excited about tonight, because when I read the bio I was like, this is gonna be cool. And tonight we have Lotte Winterborn, and she attended her first event, a horse and falcon in Callantyre, when she didn't know much about what was going on, which is a common theme with us. I think we all find it that way. But soon after, she moved to the mid realm, where she discovered a talent for embroidery, and for making historically uh, based costumes, which is a passion she retains to this day. She's moved all over the known world, the northern and southern regions of the mid realm. She served as the baronial arts and science champions for both the Cleflands and the Barony of the Flame, and found herself down in Meridies, where she made friends and enjoyed new adventures, but had always kind of longed for home. So upon returning to the mid realm, and I scrolled too fast, Lottie currently serves as a seneschal. So in recent years, she's shifted her focus from embroidery to cooking. Primarily, and we talked a little bit about baking in the green room beforehand. So hopefully we'll talk a little bit more of that tonight. Her passion for research and willingness to share has made her a brilliant addition to Rum, where she enjoys sparking the creativity of those in the SCA, both new and seasoned. So welcome to the show, Lottie. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Yay.
Doing well.
So we should say that Rum is Royal University of the Mid-Realm, and Lottie has her own special channel
I,
where she
I
does all these cool cooking things, which is so awesome.
right. It's fun. It's a 5-part series that I don't want to say Master Andreas talked me into, but he just suggested it, and I was like, that's a great idea. Let's roll. So now that I'm in my off season at work, I actually have time to do this. So we're doing a 5-part series called In the Kitchen with Lottie. It's fun because it challenges me, and it gets me. I work better on deadlines. So it's like, I have a deadline. I have to make sure I have learned about this dish and done this presentation by this deadline. And we did the first class last week before, recently. I did the first class recently. It was a lot of fun. I've got to I've done quite a few e-roam classes over the past few years and learned a lot. This is the first class that I actually am recording myself in the kitchen and then inserting that kind of into the middle of the class. So you still kind of get that cooking show vibe, as well as the lecture and everything that's kind of behind the recipe and the research. So it's been lots of fun. And the first, like I said, the first class was great. I had a technical glitch where my computer just like froze in the middle of the class. And when I came back, I was like, oh God. And they're like, no, we've been exchanging recipes. I was like, oh, good. as it should be.
That's awesome. All right. So let's backpedal a little bit.
Mhm.
And you hinted at it, but let's hear the real story, the full story. How did you
Okay.
find the SCA?
So I had just graduated with my BFA in technical theater. And I was waiting. It was the between time between graduating college and going to my internship. And I was, zooming around on the internet on some forums, and somebody messaged me and was like, hey, you like costuming, and it looks like you've done historical costuming. You might like this. So I think a couple weeks later was Horse and Falcon. I put together my first dress, which was just simple, very simple, not quite T-tunic dress, but with the gore, it had gores, because I was a costume technician. So I was like, this must not be T-tunic. This must be nice. And went, and it ended up being, for some reason, I don't know why, they were doing a crown tournament at Horse and Falcon that year. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this is really cool. So then I made one more outfit and went to Lily's like a month later or something like that. So yeah, I was hooked from the get-go. I feel like I found my people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
Lucas, I want you to notice that I'm holding back and not jumping in with questions to let you actually ask questions tonight.
Stop it.
right?
Oh, stop. That's our banter. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. What it is we get into the comfortability. Now we get to be kind of salty with each other as we, like, let's change up the format a little bit. So when you, so again, theater background, we're noticing that there are certain trends of people that we get. Was the, just kind of trying to connect some dots, was the BFA in costuming, or was it all technical?
Yeah, it was technical theater with I don't know if the certificate says costuming, but I emphasize, we had to take all the theater classes, but I did primarily costuming while I was doing theater school at that period of my life.
Okay, so it says that was kind of where that was your gateway thing, and so what primarily did you start making and embroidering and whatnot? What did you focus on?
So I actually took an embroidery class. So I've been sewing since I was very small. I grew up, and my mother and my grandmother, both wonderful sewers. Both of them quilt. My mom made clothes for us when we were younger. I've got some of the like Easter dresses she made me. So sewing was always part of my life. I did cross stitching when I was younger, but I never really got into embroidery. So I took an embroidery class at that first Lily's, and I was like, well, this is really cool. It's like drawing with thread, and it's a lot better than cross stitch. So I kind of started doing some experimenting from there, and kind of took off with that, and kind of implemented that into a lot of my early costumes, clothes, SCA clothes that I made. So
was there a specific period that you play in, or no?
I kind of tend to hop around. For a while, I primarily focused on the Norse period, because that was kind of what my group of friends were focusing on, which I still play in Norse, but it's one of those, I'm very eclectic in taste anyway, so I've done some later period German. I've started a Tudor working woman dress and haven't finished it yet. This is 9th century Kentish. So I really like to kind of hop around and explore different things because it's kind of like what's shiny today, almost in my clothing aspect.
So what did you say you're wearing tonight? I didn't.
This is 9th century Kentish. A little
Kentish. So
Kentish.
what is that? Where are
Northern
they?
Northern Germanic. So
Ah.
it's got the aspect of it is it's the split goes from here to about your navel, and then it's held together by pins of different types, and then usually it's belted. Either there's a couple different ways it's belted, and normally if you're not working, it's worn with a coat.
So do we
So
know why they had a slit down the front? See, here I go again. Sorry, Lucas. Do we know why
I
they had a slit down
um
from the
I
neck to the navel?
this is one of those that a friend was like, I've done all the research, but you should make this. So I haven't done a lot of looking into why. I will say it is a lot easier to put on and take off than a lot of these over the head dresses that even like the simple T-tunic dresses. It's so much easier to put on. It's so much easier to layer. As you see, I've got a layer underneath it, and it kind of pulls it open, but it's not like showy or anything. So I think it's just ease of layering and ease of putting on, and it is so comfortable to wear. I've worn this to one event, and it was one of those where I forgot that I was wearing clothes. It was just so comfortable. Like it's that whole like the so when I was one of my theater internships was at the Santa Fe Opera for one summer. And I was working with a tailor, and she made this beautiful linen, like early 19th century English jacket or suit. And the actor at one point just took off his jacket, wadded it up, and threw it across the stage. And she's like, it has now become clothing. It is now not a costume because of the way he has utilized it. It's not like, oh, I am stiff in this costume. It's like, this is something that I feel comfortable just walking up and throwing up in the corner. If that makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely makes sense.
Do you make clothes for other people? I mean, you said somebody else did the research and you put that together. But do you make clothes for other people? Do you sell, or do you like?
I don't really. I've tried doing some selling stuff, but it's one of those things where, especially with SCA clothes, you're putting in a whole lot of extra time that it's hard to balance. Right now, I'm actually the clothier wardrobe lady for their majesties. So
you don't have time to do any kind of sewing for anybody but them.
right now, but yeah, and that was something that when they first said, okay, we're gonna fight in Crown, I was like, I will do your clothes for you and help you look magnificent, and they do.
They do, yes.
Yeah.
So how did you get? So okay, so you did theater and you did all this theater stuff. How did you become a baker?
Well, I did theater for. Okay, so my theater intern. So I graduated, and then I did an internship for about a year and a half at a theater that I will not name because they burnt me out. It was a lot of work. You know what? It's one of those things they really burnt me out with a lot of work, and really the balance wasn't there between work and play. Like I just had to work a lot, and I didn't really get to do a whole lot of other stuff. And I was just working, and all of the interns and journeymen lived together. So it was one of those, you work and you live with the same people, and some people can do that and I can't, and it just burnt me the hell out. So I went into the fashion industry for a year as a seamstress, and I hated it. And so I had to have that, like, take a step back, look at your life, look at your choices. And I went and lived in my parents' basement for a while, and I was visiting some friends in Louisville, and baking. Okay, backing up, at one point before I went into theater, I almost went into baking school. But it was weird. They only accepted 15 students a year, and it was all by whoever enrolled first. So it was really stupid. But anyway, I went into theater. So I was in Louisville visiting friends, and I drove by. I was like, oh, Sullivan University, they have a baking program. I should go visit them. So I went and I chit-chatted with them, and I went to baking school, and now I am a baker, officially a working baker. So yay. So yeah, it was just kind of one of those, sometimes you gotta step back and kind of figure things out and be like, this was fun, and I don't regret doing theater at all, because I met some amazing people. I had some amazing experiences, but in the end, I was pretty much told if I wanted to make a career of that, I would have to go to grad school. And at that point in my life, I didn't want to go to grad school. I didn't want to pay more money to go to school again. I just wanted to work. And so, yeah, so I turned my life around.
So what was the first like cooking, baking project you did SCA wise? Like what was like, oh, well, I can turn that energy from the costuming over here. What was that?
It was actually suggested to me. I was one of the things that I was doing in Louisville, and I still do, not as much as I like right now, but when I can, I sing with the choir there, the choir that they put together, Flamacorum. And I was at a practice, and I was talking to Kat, and I was like, I want to do an A&S project, and I think I want to do a cooking project, but I'm not quite sure how to go about it. Do you have any suggestions? And she suggested this, it's called a custard Lombard. It's like a quiche, but she's like, look at this. Look at this recipe, and see what you think. And she helped me redact it, and it was kind of like, I can do this, and I understand what this is going. And it was great. It really clicked. And from there, I can't even think of my other second project. Like I did that, and I don't remember what other I can't tell you what the second thing I baked from. I think I did Feast after that, because I was out of school, and I was like, I can do this. This is fine. This is like
You
school.
didn't.
Great. So yeah, I did a Feast for Christmas tourney, and did some fun. And it's one of those, when I do Feast, it's medieval like food. It's simple and it's good. It's not like, I think it's really cool when people do like, I'm going to do this really neat Middle Eastern feast. That's really not my mentality. My mentality is keep it simple, keep it doable, because I don't want to stress out about this. And we did a pie that another friend had researched, the chicken Lombard pie. If you know Eleanor, she did that as an AS project a couple years before I did my custard Lombard. So we used that, and we used a couple other things, and that was a lot of fun. And yeah, and I've kind of recently I've found online, it's the first published cookbook of the Netherlands. It's from the 15th century, and it's got these really fun recipes in it. It's got like a apple pie recipe in it, that you bake the apples in the pie, and then you take the lid off the pie, and you scramble the apples up with whatever seasonings you're putting in there, and then you bake it again. It's just really interesting how they do stuff. But a lot of it I'm finding connects even to how we do things in the modern time. There's kind of this flow of the methods are the same. Like sugar will always burn at the same temperature. Meat will always caramelize and bake and roast at the same temperatures. But what the difference is really the tools that they're implementing. You really go from like the spit turners. You really go from like a person sitting there turning a spit, and then eventually at one point they're like, let's make a dog do this. So they breed these spit dogs that are kind of like beefier wiener dogs. They're like beefier wiener dogs, kind of like between a wiener dog and a corgi is what they kind of look like. To run in these little wheels, but they had so much problem with that dog doesn't even exist anymore. To in the 18th century, I just went to Colonial Williamsburg, and I don't remember what it's called. Oh, Spitjack. That's what it's called. But it's this clockwork mechanism that they attach the spit to, and it doesn't automatically turn it, but it works like clockwork. It has this weight that comes down. So like for 10 minutes, it'll turn this spit. And then you can go do something else for 10 minutes, and then you can come back and you can check the meat, and then you can turn the spit. And then we go from that to like more electronic spit turners. And now we just have this little jig that you set up a spit and you just put it over the fire and it'll just do all the work for you. So that's what interests me are things like that.
That's so cool. That's really cool. So how was Williamsburg? Okay, totally not SCA period, but I mean, I saw your pictures. It looked awesome.
It's still period.
It was great. It was really fun. I got to geek out with the mantua maker, the lady who makes the dresses. We got to geek out for a while, talking about clothes in 18th century. And my knowledge there isn't as good as some of the medieval stuff because that's not the realms we go in. But it was still fun to talk to her because they do the shops there, they do things still to the periodness, and some of them are still are relevant to SCA period, like the silversmiths and the blacksmiths. They have it. I don't think tin is that earlier, but the tinsmith was really cool. But yeah, we had a good time, ate some really good food, not in Colonial Williamsburg. I had the worst shepherd's pie. It was disgusting. But then we went somewhere else and it was delicious. But yeah, it was good. It was good to get away. We actually got splurged and got one of the little houses there that used to be a kitchen, and on the back of the house was it was fake, but it was a bread oven on the back of the house where the fire would go, and then you'd open the door, put the bread in. We opened the door and we found the water heater. Like, this was clever. but yeah. And they have a couple working kitchens there, so we got to see that's where I saw the jack spit at. The governor's house kitchen is a working demonstration kitchen, and I saw a girl incorrectly making pie crust. I'm so
I
horrible.
assume you didn't say anything. I assume you didn't say anything.
No, I can't watch cooking shows because I judge people during cooking shows. I can watch Townsend's do their cooking things, but I'm still judging him in my head. I'm like, I wish I could just turn this off, but I can't.
So I've always been curious. Sorry, Lucas. So I've always been curious about the change in flavor from medieval. Like, it seems like when I've had authentic medieval feasts, that it's been very hard for me to adjust my palate to the tastes of those foods because I'm just an American gal, well, German Hungarian girl. So tell me what is it, and this is a big question, but what is it that made the taste, everything change its flavor?
So it's really so nowadays we can pretty much get anything. We can order it online. We can go to the store. We can pretty much we have access to pretty much any kind of spice or flavor out there. The cost might be expensive, like if you're trying to buy saffron, but it's still available to you. In the medieval period, and even just like, let's just focus on aristocratic, noble class, people who had access to this stuff. It was still very hard, it traveled, and it traveled from all kinds of different places in what I think they called it the Near East, but what we would call the Middle East and China, and wherever those trade routes were coming from. So really, flavor was a status symbol. My first class was on the 12th night cake, which, if you're a noble person, you're putting as much of those fancy spices that you can afford to get in this cake because you can afford them. So I don't want to say that they weren't paying attention to flavor profile and like what all was going together, because I'm sure somebody was, but really a lot of things that are being put in to the food in that time is a status thing. It's not really a flavor thing. And it's like, oh, look, we were able to get oranges for Christmas, so we'll put orange in everything. I don't know. I mean, I think roses were plentiful, and they were obsessed with rose water, which for us, I think it's because we associate it with soap. It's like licking a soap bar, but to them, it was like one of the most decadent things. So that is the simplest, quickest answer I can give you to that, is that flavors at that point were a status symbol. And of course, I'm focusing more on European era, because that's mostly what I do. I think probably in the Middle East, it was because they had those things. They had access to those things a little more readily. I'm sure they were a more refined palette of oh, these will go together. But there.
So as a baker and a researcher, do you concentrate more on confection or savory or breads, or what do you enjoy more?
So when I can find baked goods, or what we consider baked goods, I try to like do that research. I like cooking in general, but I think my answer is yes. I really do more focus on the baked goods, but because a lot of that is looser in that period of what was a baked good and what wasn't a baked good, you still get into the realm of meats and actual cooking, or what we would consider actual, like, the culinary side. A friend of mine says I do chemistry and they do freeform jazz. So when I do medieval cooking, I get to freeform jazz a little more. But like I said, when I can find like and I'm just going to touch on this because I haven't quite done a lot of research into this yet, but I found this when I was doing my 12th night cake project. So in France, in medieval France, there were technically like these two almost guilds. There was the bakers and there was the patisserie, and they were each allowed to do different things. And there was this contention between who did the 12th night cake, because the bakers always did the 12th night cake, but it was technically cake. So the patisserie was supposed to, it was. So I haven't done a whole lot of research into that, but like that was something that I found that I'm like, I have to table this for now because I have to do other things. But I want to look more into this because the bakers and they were just, it was kind of like what are the clothing laws? The supplementary laws. It was pretty much each were allowed to do a list of things, and they could not defer from this list. So,
sumptuary laws. Yes.
Sumptuary, thank you. That was the word. Yeah, it's almost like sumptuary laws for food. So that's something that I want to like I said, it's shelved for now, but it's something I want to go back to after I get through this class series and do a little more research into, because it looks very interesting.
So you made something the other day. You posted a picture, and I'm gonna say it wrong, but it's spelled like Beerocks.
Beerocks?
Beerocks. That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
So what are those, a medieval recipe?
So I have to remember. No, they're more like did we have meat pies in the medieval era? Yes. I mean, you could probably trace them back. So the ones I grew up with, which were called Beerocks, and I had a period where every time I moved, I would ask anybody if they've heard of Beerocks, and I'd get really weird looks. So Bierock is a Volga German term. The Volga Germans, I don't remember what, I think it was the 17th or the 18th century. I think it was the 18th century. The Volga Germans were a group of Germans that moved to Russia because of the Queen. The Queen invited them to Russia. I don't remember which queen it was. And they lived on the Volga River. And they had, it was almost, I want to almost compare it to like an Amish community or a Mennonite community, where they were just their own community within each other. And that's where, you know, this came from, because the Volga Germans eventually moved to America. And this was one of the things they brought with it. And if you go to a Oktoberfest festival in like northern Kansas or southern Nebraska, they serve Beerocks. And Beerocks are a bready hand pie that traditionally have ground beef, onion, and cabbage in them, because Germans and cabbage. So I don't remember if my grandma had made these before, because my mom's side of the family is German. But my mom's recipe comes from a neighbor lady from not college, from when she was teaching kindergarten right after college, is where she got her recipe from. And then I took that because I'm not a huge cabbage fan. So this time I mixed in some carrots and some celery and some leek and some turnip with my beef and a bunch of like herbs and stuff. And I made my own Beerock. So that is the long story of a Beerock.
Thank you.
Yeah. And somebody kept asking me if they were something else. And I think it's one of those, like I said, it's just a specific, it's a hand pie that I learned was from a specific region, and I'm sure everybody has their own version.
But it's a yeasted hand pie, which is the biggest difference that really fascinated me about it, because I've never seen a yeasted meat pie before.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Lucas, it's your turn.
It's really good. I wish I could like give you one through the screen.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that if we had done a little more prep, just like so that actually helps me kind of segue into my next question. So you're doing ERUM then with this. How have you taught cooking live, like you know, at events, and then how is that different? Which do you prefer?
Have you not taught cooking at an event yet. So when COVID first started, I was working at Whole Foods. So I've worked through the entire pandemic. But because I was, you know, in my apartment, I didn't have my dog then, I didn't have my house, I didn't have my boyfriend at that point. It was me in my apartment, mostly by myself, going to work and coming home, and going to work and coming home. So I wanted to connect with my friends a little more. So I started Bake Along with Abby, where I would give them, you know, this is what I'm going to bake tomorrow. I will be on Facebook Live at this time.
And then she'd put out the list of ingredients for you to go buy, so you could make with.
Yeah, and it was all about like doing it in real time. So, you know, so technically you were baking along with me. And I did that for, I don't know, not quite a year. And then I tried to kind of, once I got my house, I kind of tried to make it a little fancier. And then I was like, I don't have time for this. This is a lot of extra work. So I've kind of, with the series, I've kind of been able to bring the skills that I learned through Bake Along with Abby into that, and how to kind of film myself baking. You know, it's not what I would call professional filming, but you know, I've learned, you know, how to set up my camera, how to jimmy rig some stuff. I had one camera like hooked up to a jar of spaghetti sauce the other day. So the things you learn. But so if Rum was going to be in person next month, that would have been my first like live teaching cooking. But since it's virtual, we'll go back to the virtual format. But someday I'll teach.
So obviously in your home, you're cooking with mostly modern, like the oven and whatnot, but how much into the period technology of baking and cooking have you delved?
Not really a whole lot. Like I've done cooking over the fire before. I got a fire pit, so I could do more of that here, but it's one of those things I just haven't taken the time. I have plans to spit roast on my little fire thing for the series. That's hopefully, I'm not promising that yet, but that's in the plan for one of the last shows.
Oh, that's why you got a dog.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I could not imagine. Sadie would be like running, and then she'd be like, "Oh, there's a rabbit." Would not be a very good spit roasting, but that would be hilarious. Yeah, so we'll see. It's in my grand scheme of things, but we'll see if it actually works or not. But I don't remember what we were talking about.
I don't either. What were we talking about, Lucas?
We were talking about how far into the technology of period cooking you've delved.
So yeah, so I've just kind of I'm at that point where I'm still taking kind of small steps. So I have a mortar and pestle now. My boyfriend made me, I call it a masher. I saw it, one of the Ruth Goodman, who was a wonderful Tudor researcher, having this masher that she was mashing sugar with to pulverize it. It was a pulverizer. So I have one of those now. So I'm kind of slowly building up. I've got a period pot, early period pot that a friend made for me. So I'm building up my stash of things. I have plans to put an oven, period like oven, clay oven out in the yard, and things like that. But things take time. If I can get access to one, I might. I've got some friends who may be building one this summer, so maybe I can use that. It's you got to play. What do I have access to? That game. So yeah. But,
so what's next for you? What's next? What is your next challenge that you've put forth for yourself?
Oh God, what am I doing? So for me, it's the off season. So I'm kind of trying to cram as much SCA into the next to January, February, March, and part of April that I can. So I just started a new embroidery project. I actually have not embroidered for years, like actual embroidery project for a few years now. So I'm doing some fun things with the borders of the Bayeux tapestry. I learned that some of the scenes have to do with Aesop's fables. So I'm taking some of those scenes. I need things to hang on my walls. So I'm like, this would be really great. I could frame it and then I could put it on the wall and I could look at it. So I'm doing some fun things with that, because when you embroider, eventually you're going to come around to the Bayeux tapestry. I've done some stuff with the old Oxford tapestry in the past, but I've been avoiding the Bayeux tapestry. But I found what I wanted. I found something fun with it. So I'm working on that. Their Majesties still have a couple things left in their reign. I'm almost done with, they almost, there's like a couple pieces that I got to make for them, but they're almost like fully clothed, so they're good. I just learned to juggle. I've learned that if you're staying in the same cabin as Kellic, he'll eventually hand you some juggling balls and be like, "We are going to juggle," and I'm like, "Okay." So Honor and I were learning how to juggle a couple weeks ago, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm trying to keep up with that. Let's see, I'm doing the class series.
And your job.
And my job. I guess the next big thing actually is so our Shire is doing something different because we're known for Candlemas, and Candlemas is kind of in the what I call the no-go period in time because
It's an event. It's a mid-realm event.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's a big fighting mid-realm event in the winter, inside, which is not good right now. So we are actually doing a spring outdoor art event. So we're taking complete 180, and we're going to do that in April. So that's kind of the next big thing. I'm not autocrating it, but my one of the autocrats is like, we're just going to put you on as the backseat autocrat. Like, well, I have to prod you. This is my job, to prod you to make sure things get done. That's really it, because I'll get into season right after that, and kind of all bets are off during season. I've been told that we've got weddings and events scheduled for every weekend between April 30th and Christmas. So I'm going to be busy next year. Yeah. But who knows? I will say the e-rum and some of the online SCA stuff, for me as a person who works on weekends, has been really nice to be able to participate in things that take place during the week and like weekend evenings, or even be able to go back and like watch classes, since they videotape all the classes, or I can like go back and watch court if court happens while I'm at work. I have watched court at work a couple times. I'll just put them up there and be like, I'm just gonna watch this. Nobody else is in here. But I mean, things like that, for, like I said, for someone who works weekends and it's hard for me to get off and actually go to an event, it's kind of helped me be a little more included in things, which has been nice. But yeah, so nothing huge that I know of, but I'll think of something.
Of course you will.
Just real quick, I'm interested for the process. What is it like to be the official dresser for Crown? Like, what is that process like?
It's fun. I think it's because I've worked with like since I've worked with actors before. I think there's been some. So when I was a costumer, and I tried not to tell actresses too much, I'm like, you're just like big dolls that I get to make pretty things for you and dress you up.
I know what you mean. As a director, it's the same way. It's like, you're action figures, and I'm going to make you do what I want. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right.
So I kind of get to go back to that nostalgia, and Paul, Anne and Uller are my good friends anyway. I mean, when I moved to the mid-realm, they just kind of took me under their wing and just made the SCA even more awesome. So they've really been part of my SCA life since the beginning. So this is something that I was, I was very adamant that I was going to do this, because I wasn't around for their last two reigns. And I'm like, by gum, I'm going to make you look pretty, because I can. And Anne's appreciated it because her sewing room has turned into her work office. So she's like, my sewing machine is behind a bunch of computers right now. But yeah, so it's been fun. And I have a sewing room now in my house. What's it like? Well, it's a lot of things that I like to do. It's a lot of planning and organizing. So, we I told them, I'm like, if you win, you get like 2 days. And then I'm going to come at you and I'm going to ask you what you want for your coronation. Just be prepared for that. And yeah, about, they won, and then we scheduled a day and we sat down. I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? So, because I know that like Uller's very particular in his time periods and in his look, and that's fine. And it's been really, it's fun to watch the dynamic between the two of them, because they, it's fun to watch couples who've been together and who just get even when they're nagging at each other, that that they're still getting along, and they're like, this is just how you work. It's great.
Yeah, they're like hashtag relationship goals. They really are.
They are. so I mean, like I said, they're just two great people to work with, and because I only live half an hour away from them, so once I get to a point, I can just call them up and be like, all right, am I coming to your house or are you coming to my house? Because I have something that I need to put on you. Because sometimes, I've helped the at singers out a lot on some of doing a lot of the royalty and coronation stuff that they have headed up. And sometimes, we got to wait. We get to a point and we have to wait for like a week to do a fitting because royalty we have to figure out like, are we meeting at an event? Are you coming here? Are we going there? So having them like right there is really nice because yeah, or I can send Paul a picture and be like, okay, which one of these do you want? Do you want the trim this way or this way?
Nice.
Nice.
Like,
Believe it or not, though we're almost out of time. We got
Yeah.
15 minutes left. So, I wanted to just ask one simple question before we jump into our last question, though. We didn't talk about the fact that you're a seneschal of your local group. So
Yeah.
how did that, so what is that like for you?
It's
Dramatically
fun.
pause to drink. Dramatically pause to drink. Yeah.
That's I gotta think about this.
Yeah.
So I actually became seneschal on the fly because Annalise was our seneschal, and when she was like, so we're gonna fight in Crown. Do you want to be my deputy? I don't remember how it went, but I was like, I'll take the bullet. I'll be your deputy, and if you guys get it, we'll figure it out from there. And then I ended up just taking on the position. And I told them because I run kitchen, or I don't really run. I have run kitchens, and I am the man, the supervisor of a bakery, and I'm like, I don't take BS from people. I may be very happy right now, but that's because this is my happy time, and you don't mess with my happy time. So it's I think people have said it's a lot like herding cats. It is a lot like herding cats. I may take it a little too more seriously than a lot of other people because they're like, we will have the meeting now, and here's our agenda.
Good. I mean, I
yeah.
think people forget that you're the legal representative of the SCA, and there's
Yeah.
this responsibility you have.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot about like the process and everything, and more than I knew went on in behind the scenes, and I'm still learning from things. And Heloise is now our Kingdom Seneschal, and she's really great with like posting stuff on our Seneschal Facebook page, like when things change. It's like, here are the COVID changes. I'm like, okay, I will take that. I will put them in the meeting notes, and I will put that on the Facebook page, and that way it is communicated more than once. So yeah, and we've got my officers. The officers I have under me are great, and we're trying to recruit more and get people to stay positive about things because everybody's about zoomed out right now, and they're like, and our shire has spread out so much that actually having Zoom, like a Zoom business meeting, is a lot easier for most of us, because like I don't have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to Lexington to go to a meeting, and there are people who live 2 hours out even. So
Wow.
so it's been, yeah, so Seneschal, it's been fun. It's been a learning experience. My autocrats are learning that I have a schedule, and I was like, we need to make this decision like now, like
Nice.
yesterday. So
Well, I'm looking forward to the event in April. That sounds like fun.
yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be I think the Shire folks, I don't think are gonna, the ones that are a little hesitant about it, I don't think they realize how fun we are going to make it, because we will have fighting. There will be fighting. You can go have your fighting, but we are going to have our tournament of art, and it's going to be great.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Lucas, last question.
All right. So this is our typical question. You've had some time to maybe think about it a little bit. And I think you kind of started to touch on it. So that's kind of a nice segue.
Okay.
What is it that the SCA can do better? What can we do better to improve the society?
Oh God, I think it's just, I think a lot of things that have come out of the pandemicness is good. I know some people aren't really into the ESCA, and that's fine. But for some of us where it's been a really good outlet, I think that's good. I think at some point when this is all over and we go less and more into the live, I don't know if I can say we need to do this better, but I think people just need to be thinking forward about how that transition is going to work. Because I've known some couple people who are really into the ESCA, but they haven't really been to very many events. And I know a person who's been to an event, and they were like, I didn't really connect with anyone there. Like, yeah, because you have to like put yourself, like, you have to get out of the computer and you have to put yourself out there, and like several times though, you have to like keep at it. So I don't know if this is doing better, but I think the way we're going with you know, I really like, one thing that I really like about Anne and Ullr's reign is their concept of one mid-realm, of coming together. So I think if we can take that concept, and a lot of people have really taken that and run with it seems like. And I think if we just continue to go that positive way, that way of coming together, of doing things, of continuing things, and remembering that there are new people coming into this, and that we need to remember to, yes, I want to go to an event and I want to see my friends that I have not seen for years and hug them very tightly. But I have to also remember that there is this new person over here that doesn't know what the hell is going on and who is not feeling included in our fun. So I think we need to find a way to have our fun that we're used to with our friends we haven't seen for a long time, but still remember to put an arm around those new people and include them in our friendship, and be like, this is this really cool person, and let me tell you why they are really cool, and I've known them for a million years, and I haven't seen them for like 2 years, so let me just tell you about this person, or something like that. I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lottie. This has been
Thank
a
you.
really great we could talk for so much longer, but the three of us are turning into pumpkins. It's like
Right? And
bedtime.
there was a lot of arm flailing. I'm sorry for the Muppet arm flailing.
All right, Lucas, take us out.
All right. So in 2 weeks, we have a next guest already lined up. If you go to Penzig and you spend any time partying in the bog, I guarantee you have stopped by the Raven Spittle at some point. She's a staple in at Penzig. Ship's Apothecary, the guy who runs the bar, Phineas Flarg, will be joining us in 2 weeks. So that should be really interesting. We're going to talk to him a little bit about his involvement kind of on the periph of the SCA, and see why that is. So we're looking forward to that. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Awesome. All right. Again, you're watching Simply SCAdian, no title required, with Lucas and Zoph, and our awesome, wonderful, amazing, superb guest, Lote Winterborn. Thank you, Lote. Everybody else, have a great evening.
Thank you.